Alright guys, TouchCrab here back again today. Hope you're enjoying your Monday so far, and today it has now officially been confirmed that Champs is going to go on online as the CDL described it, the CDL post-season. We've talked about this over the last couple of weeks that it was definitely a possibility, Scraps hinting at it, Cillian hinting at it. It now has officially been confirmed. That is indeed the case. Very unfortunate to be honest, but as we'll talk about in coming minutes, somewhat understandable, but of course, this does have many implications. You look at some of the teams that have historically struggled online compared to the LAN environment, the same amount of money is still going to be gifted out, so there's a lot to discuss today, and a lot of the pros are on different sides of this issue. Some of them are like, yeah, this is fine, this is reasonable. Others of which are saying we should have postponed it further or even transferred the prize pool over to next year when we can have a proper event in a fair environment on LAN. Intrigued to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below. As always, like if you guys enjoy the video, subscribe if you are new. First of all, wanted to mention, as I'm sure we will be discussing later this week, OpTic Gaming look like they have decided to make this change, bringing in Draza and Hollow to the starting lineup in the place of Dashy and Chino. Chino did some tweets saying that, well, you know, he's not particularly happy with the situation as it stands right now. We'll talk about that more in coming days when this does finally get confirmed, but seems like it's very likely indeed. This is what the CoD League come out with yesterday. In light of the continued COVID-19 health risks, the CDL post-season, so that's the champs for the amateur scene, but also the professional scene, will be held online. The league and teams are collaborating on additional competitive integrity measures to be taken. More updates to follow in delivering the best experience for all. And let's run through it here. So the Call of Duty League has been working in close collaboration with teams and players over the last several months regarding the playoffs and the championship weekend. Due to continuing health risks associated, they've decided to do it online. The decision was made with great care, communication and consideration over the course of many discussions with all the team owners in the league. In light of this shift, and with the 2020 season playoffs and championship weekend on the horizon, not officially confirmed the dates as of yet, we're revealing some of the new technology improvements and measures we will be taking to further monitor for competitive integrity. This is a discussion we've had a while ago, right? Discussing the cheating potential problem that's going on. I don't really think it's incredibly likely that the pros are doing this, but it's definitely possible. This Cronus Max anti-recoil possibility that they could be plugging it into their controller. Wouldn't be able to get away with that on LAN, but in the comfort of your own bedroom, there's no one really to stop you, using cheats effectively in the CDL, and especially at Champs, there's $4.6 million on the line as well. Talk about in a second. I can definitely imagine people are going to be trying to go down that route if they could. However, the CDL has come out with some alternatives to make sure that's not the case. The league is providing all competitors with a universal camera setup that will be active throughout all matches. The cameras will provide visibility for the league officials to view and check each competitor's console, controller, and monitor as needed. Once a match reaches official ready check status, players will need to be seated and on camera. The camera will be in place prior to the start of the New York Subliners home series on July the 10th in only a few days' time. So looks like they're implementing this quite quickly. You know, we've seen the entire season, or at least since it's gone online, the fact that these players, like some of them don't have the cameras on. What's going on there? Surely you're meant to have the camera on. Always been a bit confused that they're allowed not to. Now it looks like they're going to absolutely have to, and have probably multiple cameras from multiple angles to show that the controller, hand cams, like whatever's plugged into the controller or plugged into the console is legit, not going through a Cronus, nothing dodgy going on. I'm sure maybe there's a way to get around this if pros really wanted to, finding some other way, like maybe you could somehow set up another PS4 and have the camera on that, but instead be connecting to another one. I don't know, but still, it's better than nothing. Good that they're at least recognizing that this potentially could be an issue and taking some steps to alleviate it. This is also kind of interesting. Veto power. Currently, for each CDL home series, teams are provided a list of 3 servers from a pool of 9 to test and determine which server they prefer to veto. During the playoffs and championship, this is going to go up to 5. Kind of surprised it wasn't more than 3 already, but they're going to add more servers, supposedly stepping up the level of the servers as well in terms of the quality of them, but it's still not ideal. If you're on the West Coast, I still don't think you have many good options, as we will see Slasher talk about in a second. Calling in the reinforcements, we're going to bulk up production, technical and officiating staffing teams. We want to be ready to handle any and all issues that might come up in online competition play. So look, this is deeply unfortunate, right? We would have much preferred it to be on LAN in the first place, especially given the amount of money that's on the line. This is the biggest event we have ever had in Call of Duty history. Going to be going down in an online environment. Obviously, there was not going to be a crowd anyway, but it definitely felt for a time that it might be possible to do this thing on LAN. But when we just look at these issues we're going to talk about in a couple of minutes here, it just seems incredibly likely that this was ever possible really to get on the ground, off the ground, especially in the current state of the pandemic situation in the United States. As Rated says here, right, 100% the right decision. Anyone who thinks otherwise is stupid in typical Rated's blunt manner. But one person turns up to that event sick, entire thing is chalked. And this really is the issue, right? Like, you've got to fly all the production teams out, all the, the team to put on the event, but also the teams themselves and the coaching and the management staff and all of this kind of stuff. The casters, they're not going to be able to all fly out by private jet on their own, like, personal airliner. They're going to be flying out via public airlines, right? And that begs the question, if they get to the event, what are you going to do? You're going to test when you get to the event. What if someone has it, right? You get to the event, they get tested, someone has it. Like, what do? Do you have to, like, the whole team, can they even play? The rest of the team has to get tested then. It just causes potential nightmares, especially given the amount of people that are going on. I suppose you could also think about it from Activision's perspective, like, what do they have to gain by possibly doing this on LAN when it is still possible to do it online? When other sports, you have to do them in person if you're going to. It's possible to do this online, and it's a really bad look for Activision, right? Like, imagine they do make this in LAN, someone goes on and gets ill, then it's just an absolute PR disaster from them, and maybe even greater consequences than just that. However, not everyone agrees with this one. Zuma says as a competitor it's frustrating, but what are you going to do? Times are rough, but we are in it together. Adam Apicella says if one player got sick and potentially worse as a result, then playing champs on LAN was not worth it, especially when online is a competitive alternative. I guarantee you the league teams and players wanted this event to happen, but player safety triumphs in the end. Slacked, of course, on the Seattle Surge this whole year is chalked. And Octane says a kind of interesting point, right? Biggest prize pool in CoD history and not a single series on LAN. Top 4 on LAN, top 6 on LAN. This is kind of an interesting concept, right? How you could have the first few rounds of champs online before people get knocked out. And then when it gets down to top 4 or even the grand finals or something, fly those teams out. It would take less effort, less casters, less production, less of the teams would have to go out. Maybe you could do that via private jet or something like, the Dallas Empire guys are at private jet. It's possible the Enigma 6 private jet from back in the day, they could lend that to the Huntsman or whoever's in the grand finals. So it might be possible to make that work. Then again, it's a lot of additional effort that maybe isn't required. But, I think Octane kind of has a fair point that maybe it would have been nice to see some of this on LAN, even though the majority of it was really never going to happen, at least for the last couple of weeks. However, there is some interesting opinions here. You can social distance playing games at LAN. Each team and player can have their own personal setup. There is a risk during travel and logistics with stuff for organisers, but for a $4 million+ tournament that's a staple of each year, CoD champs shouldn't be played online. Certainly agree it shouldn't be played online, but in the current environment, especially from Activision's perspective, it becomes very challenging indeed. The safety of everyone involved is obviously the priority, but having it online is straight up unacceptable. It is not an alternative because no matter what they do, it will not be fair competition because of the lag and the internet spikes and this kind of stuff. Absolute joke. The biggest event in CoD history is being played in our bedrooms. All of us players understand how the world is right now, and I agree it shouldn't be held on LAN at the moment as it risks player safety, but a league like this shouldn't hold unfair competition at all. It should be postponed until they are able to hold it. So I get Slash's point, but the issue is, right, when do you know when we're going to be able to hold it? Are we going to be able to hold it in September? What about October? Like, who knows what the current landscape looks like? Are they going to hold it after the next game comes out if they want to delay champs that long? I just think that all things considered, it's just too much uncertainty, and they'd prefer just to do it online and get that get it out of the way to a degree. And, as he says in reply to this one, yes, we are indeed blessed. However, what I said still stands. The league shouldn't host unfair competition. Don't want it to be on LAN either right now. And that's what people are saying, right? Do we just delay it until the entirety of next year? But, how long is it going to have to be delayed for? It's just a very challenging thing. Who even knows at this point whether next season we're going to be able to do this online or at least on LAN? Like, who knows? The future is clearly very uncertain right now. And it makes sense for Activision and the CDL to be like, look, we're just going to do this now, get it out of the way. It's online. It's not the best of the situation we could possibly have, but the issues for us and the risk for Activision and the CDL themselves are just too great, and for the players and all the other personnel involved as well. And as Simp says, we need more servers or something, man. No way it's being played with how things are right now. Even with more servers, there'll always be an unbalance unless teams are 5 in the same location. Teams like Florida with a Bermuda Triangle location split will always get server advantage no matter what, because I guess they're all in different locations, which means they connect to different servers better and have advantages over other teams that can't be able to do that. Every time I play Florida, they always have someone on top of the server. League is about to let us play with that for 100k plus. I mean, way more than that, right? It's unavoidable. Someone is always going to be on the server. And as Slasher says, stay in Cali and play on a minimum of 80 ping, or risk my health and safety to move somewhere central during the crazy big spikes of the situation right now to have a fighting chance. What do I do? Center says, you can come and stay with me if you want to use my internet. And I thought this was interesting from Luna, right? Saying like, we're not going to run the event because there's risks, but players are still going to be moving across the country to go and get better ping and servers for the online event. But it's not as big of a deal, of course, as it would have been if the whole situation went down. And as this discussion happens here between Shane and Deserto Mike, I think this is pretty telling. It's obviously a gigantic loss of competitive integrity, but it was never going to be on LAN because Activision have too much to lose if it went wrong. Easy decision from them. You could say it's a lazy decision from them, but personally I think it's unfortunate, but frankly understandable. Now, let's look at the amount of money on the line here. $4.6 million in prize pool. This is how it's going to be split. 2 million for first, 1 million for second, and then it goes down from there. 11th through 12th still get nothing, but the fact that $2 million is going to be decided in an online grand finals is remarkable. Like, you win an online championship or you win an online match, even an online search and destroy, whatever it happens to be, you pocket $400,000. That's not a bad day by any means. However, we've also got to look at some of the implications here, because Florida, as was just talked about with Brian Saint, the fact that they're all in different locations means that one of them is always going to be on top of the server at any particular moment, wherever it decides to be. And as Florida then saying, replying to this one, you know, they're obviously pretty happy with the situation as it stands because they've built a great team for online. And I'm sure OGLA, with this change we talked at the start of the video, are trying to do something similar as well. As Scump says, online champs, unfortunate, but the players and staff can't be put at risk. I understand the decision, and the current climate doesn't allow for risk. Asterisk for sure, but better than nothing. Super, mega, ultra asterisk. Hate to see it, bro. Lanimals like myself, like someone who's good on lab but not as good online, caged for the big one. And I thought this was kind of funny to finish off the video here from Clayster. All right, hiring 11 people to knock out some internet polls in 11 different areas in a couple of weeks. We'll pay in rings and money before I get in trouble. I am joking. So pretty crazy, right? We've got this online scene that is going to happen now. Intrigued to hear your thoughts down below on this as always. It's a crazy situation. Also had this tweet from a Hoggy, so thanks for pointing this out to me. But Arcides tweeted no rings and then he deleted it. But he talks about no rings here. We don't really know whether this means that there's going to be no rings for champs or whether he kind of means that, look, this champs doesn't deserve, like, they're not deserving of a ring given that it's going to be played online. Intrigued to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below as always. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new. I will see you next time.